Well, have you threaded yet? Yeah, Twitter's got a new rival and is gaining traction fast. Meta just released its new app called Threads. It's described as Instagram's text-based conversation app, and it looks a lot like Twitter. Here's how it works. You download the app, and people are starting to make their way outside of their homes now, getting ready to go on their morning commutes. So what we're seeing outside of Speaker Nancy Pelosi's home right now, still seeing a heavy police presence. San Francisco Police Department, they responded around 2:30 a.m., and they've been here since then. We are also starting to see other agencies here as well. If you look up the hill, I know there are cars in the way, but if you're able to see behind the trees, there are other agencies, including the FBI. Inside of the store, looking to get the gear. Somebody just drove by and said Niners. People are excited. Developing right now, Governor Gavin Newsom is floating the idea of kidnapping charges against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. This is after migrants were flown to Sacramento. Here's the tweet from Newsom. He tags DeSantis and says, quote, "You small, pathetic man." The Warriors may be struggling in the Western Conference, but that doesn't mean we don't know how to win and maybe taunt too. We're talking about yesterday's game here. People who live and work in the area and described hearing something that sounded like an explosion. Developing this morning, police are investigating 2 shootings in San Francisco at popular tourist spots. 6 people are injured, including 4 bystanders. San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott described it as a car-to-car shooting and said that it did not appear to be random.
Back to you.
Yeah, and Jared, you talked about that snowball effect. We saw how those delays and cancellations on the East Coast had a big effect here in the Bay Area. Even had some people thinking of driving instead of flying. So for anyone driving out today, when do experts say is the best and worst time to travel? I am a huge fan of rookie Luis Matos. He just got called up last week against the series against the Cardinals, and it's not just his performance. This was in the 6th inning. They had someone on second, third base. He drives one into left field there. Drives in 2 runs there. He also ends up scoring in this inning as well. But it's not just about his performance, it's the energy. He's clapping for himself as he's running the bases. That is something I feel like we have needed with the team.
I'm gonna hurt you back,
you guys. This is fantastic.
But it's already here.
Jocelyn, I barely got any sleep last night in the East Bay because I heard him going off.
Yeah, and we were actually sending voice recordings to each other to see just how bad those fireworks are. I'm along the peninsula and you could still hear it. So not a lot of sleep last night.
Nope.
I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people, including in San Leandro.
And Elizabeth was also telling us that, you know, the heat does slow her down, but she does take breaks. That is absolutely essential for this job.
If you were an actor, would you want to do your own stunts?
No.
I would.
I would too.
Yeah.
No.
Like, get into the role.
A lot to look forward to. Klay Thompson is healthy going into the season. James Wiseman is back in the mix. You got the ring ceremony. And yeah, LeBron James and the Lakers are in town.
All right, it's already a busy morning for our super commuters. We'll tell you how it's looking over at the Altamont Pass.
I think that's one of the biggest things here is you get to meet new people of all walks of life. Gianna, I think Justin was the most competitive, so
of course.
I say we go against him and whoever wants to be on his team.
Santa Clara County Supervisor Cindy Chavez is facing off with San Jose City Councilman Matt Mahan. So here's a look at the results. Matt Mahan is leading with 52% of the vote. Cindy Chavez with 48% of the vote.
Gianna, if you are driving on southbound 101, that's where I was at to get here, you are going to start to see some signage that says it is blocked starting at Fair Oaks. Use alternate routes. That's about 6 miles out southbound 101.
All right, well, in terms of numbers, here's who could be affected per the most recent data from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. There are about 580,000 DACA recipients in the U.S., 165,000 here in California. 11,000 are here in San Francisco in the East Bay area, about 7,000 in the South Bay. So when it comes to the Bay Area, thousands of futures are being decided. We're talking about work permits, a lot of people's livelihoods.
Someone's dressed up.
Amanda, who are we rooting for today?
Well, we know who you are.
Who are we rooting for
we'll
today?
We'll go for San Diego,
We're not
Jocelyn.
allowed to say anything else.
SDSU. Listen up, football fans. Could the Super Bowl be coming back to the Bay Area? What? We have details on a major announcement. The NFL is expected to make about Super Bowl 60.
Wait, did you catch that football?
I did catch that football.
Shocked.
Hey.
You just going to interrupt us here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're trying to do a show here. We're trying to do a show here.
Jocelyn,
Shannon, can we please? At times it can be actually hard to keep your position on the ground here. So definitely be careful out there as you stop by if you're getting your morning coffee like we are getting or are seeing quite a few people. This is what I mean when it picks up. At times it'll slow down. Shannon, you're okay. We just want to make sure we're also keeping our positions because our photojournalist Shannon is also holding the camera, so it can be tough at times to really just stands.
Police are offering limited details about the investigation, but we are learning a lot more about the victim from his widespread involvement in the tech world. Bob Lee, the founder of Cash App, was identified by cryptocurrency startup MobileCoin as the man stabbed to death early Tuesday morning in San Francisco.
Well, right now we are inside the SFPD headquarters. As you can see, a lot of us are just getting ready to go into the room where this press conference is set to happen. It is January 24th, another mass shooting in California, this one here at home. A suspect is in custody. 7 people are dead. I'm Jocelyn Moran. We're live in Half Moon Bay with the latest. You know, we've talked a lot about Half Moon Bay in this community. It's a hardworking farm worker community. It's a place where you take kids to the pumpkin patch. A lot of us who grew up in the Bay Area have very special memories in Half Moon Bay, and now this community has been struck by tragedy. We did see today that there are families still looking for answers. We were actually at the substation, the sheriff's substation here in Half Moon Bay, when we noticed a man actually went up to the station looking for answers. We spoke with him afterwards, and he tells us that his ex-wife worked at Concord Farms and that the last he's actually heard from her was at about 3:50 p.m. yesterday. She called him saying, please pick up the kids. Didn't give many answers to the questions he had. He said that she sounded frantic. So he picked up the kids after school. He found out about the shooting that had occurred at those 2 locations, and he has been trying to get a hold of her. Unfortunately, he has not been able to get a hold of her, and he is still looking for answers.
Y hasta ahorita tengo cero información.
Yeah, Daniel, like you were saying, when you learn more about these victims, it starts to hit differently, especially when you say a wife, a mother, somebody who was kind. I also want to ask you, what happens next for the suspect who is under arrest right now? We saw the numbers, we saw the images, but what happens when a family arrives at a city in the U.S. after being processed at the border? What does the first week of life look like for them? Well, there are families arriving here in the Bay Area. This family from Latin America led us into their life during an uncertain time.
Paola and her family were released from a processing center with a court date in California. They landed at San Jose Mineta International Airport this month late at night, uncertain where to go next.
Yo aproximadamente eran las 5 de la mañana y yo ver a mis hijos en las sillas tratando de descansar y se me venía la imagen de que en el hogar que nosotros construimos tenía sus camas, tenía sus cosas y yo al verlos así yo empecé a orar.
They had a home in Latin America. As her kids slept, she couldn't help but think of what they had left behind. She and her family were now in an unfamiliar place. They didn't know anyone here.
Y le decía al Señor, Señor, si nos tienes acá es con un propósito, ¿sí? Y guíame, envíame un ángel para que nos guíe. Yo quiero que mis hijos tengan un lugar, no importa, pero un lugar que pueda descansar al menos por un día. Y Dios no solamente me envió uno, me envió muchos.
She tells me those angels were people who worked at the airport. They gave them food and suitcases and connected them to Amigos de Guadalupe, a nonprofit in San Jose helping families who just got here. In just the last couple of weeks, Jeremy Barus with the nonprofit tells us they've had several families seek out their help.
Hola, ¿cómo estamos?
When they connect with the family, they give them a hotel room for 7 days. Paola and her family led us into where they're staying. Here, it's been a couple of days since they arrived. Paola has just gotten up. She and her husband, Oscar, get breakfast ready for their kids with the food that has been donated to them. Putting chicken into the microwave and serving it on what they have.
¿Y cómo te llamas usted?
Joel is the youngest. He likes to watch movies.
Los Minions.
Ah, Minions are his favorite movie.
Paola hopes he can go to school here. Her kids gather around her as she starts their morning prayer, holding on to Joel's hand. They're starting all over here, but she and her husband tell me they had to leave.
Muchas amenazas en contra de la familia.
Wilson Purvis is a local immigration attorney with years of experience. He's had many clients seek asylum for a number of reasons.
Well, there are a lot of socioeconomic factors to consider, but typically many applicants decide to come here and seek help because they don't feel safe back home. When we're talking about safety issues, we're referring to organized crime, domestic violence, retaliation because of sexual orientation. There are many factors to consider whenever an applicant seeks help in the U.S.
It's been a long journey for Paola and her family.
Con esto se tapaba uno y se guardaba uno del frío.
Paola and Oscar want to be able to support themselves and their family, but Burves tells us getting a work permit could take some time.
Keep in mind that we need to file the asylum application first, await 180 days, and eventually file the work authorization, which could take also months for being adjudicated. Therefore, it may take up to a year or so for an applicant to actually have a work permit and a social security number after filing the asylum application.
Paola and Oscar want their kids to have the opportunity to reach their goals. Dylan is the oldest and plays soccer.
¿Qué es la primera cosa que les gustaría hacer acá, ya que están acá?
His younger brother Felipe plays volleyball. He wants to continue that and learn English.
Terminar los estudios y estudiar inglés.
Samuel hopes to finish school and also wants to learn English. Through it all, Paola says some of the most important things for her have been keeping her family together and being in a safe place.
La salud y la tranquilidad no tiene precio.
They're now hoping to build a new life here.
Yeah, and they're just one of many families trying to figure out how to build a new home in a place they just got to. So there's a lot of uncertainty. We met several families, or just talked with a couple of families through Amigos de Guadalupe, but Paola and her family, they let us in a very vulnerable time for them right now. They don't know exactly what's next, but unfortunately, it's a situation that a lot of people are in right now, Gianna.